120,961 bottles of beer on the wall. 120,961 bottles of beer.
Dear God, Larry, stop.
Well, what am I supposed to do? It's been 2 frickin' weeks. Where the hell is Sean?
I don't know, Larry, and I don't care. He'll get here eventually. For now, relax. It's just you and me.
What in the world is that?
My name is Gerald Allen. For some time, your show has neglected one of your hosts. I request that you return this individual to his position. Do this within 24 hours.
Or suffer the consequence. Well, I'm certainly glad to see you again.
Sean, how long have you been back?
About 2 weeks.
Are you serious? We've been trapped in an endless black void.
Yeah, vacation was good, thanks for asking. Anyway, are you ready to review Man of Steel?
Oh, right, because we were both able to see Man of Steel in an endless black void.
Great, I'll cue the intro.
Sean, pro tip, relearn sarcasm.
Too late, better get going. It's good to be back. This is CinemAttack. Play your own damn theme song. Hi, I'm Sean.
And I'm Max.
I did not like Man of Steel.
And I did.
We originally planned to just film our separate reviews and edit them together.
But given our history of disagreements, especially with this particular movie, we figured that, well...
Originally planned to just film our separate reviews and edit them together isn't good enough.
Let's do this.
My father believed that if the world found out who I really was, they'd reject me. He was convinced that the world wasn't ready. What do you think?
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the first ever live review for CinemAttack. We're going to go really quickly, keep this as short as possible. We have a list of the topics, the major topics. We won't get into anything specific. That also means we're spoiler free, so you can continue watching if you haven't seen the film. So, with that said, I'm going to have my phone out to time this. Visuals in action. 1 minute, go.
The visuals were very, very nice. The visual effects especially were excellently made. Very creative, especially Kryptonian technology. It was probably some of the best visual effects I've ever seen. Just because since we keep moving forward with that, and the fact that it wasn't industrial light magic is really interesting. The action, fantastic. Some of the best superhero action I've ever had the pleasure of watching. It was fast paced. There was lots of it, and it never bored me personally. And there was just like tons of just basically two gods fighting each other. And yeah, I got a tiny bit redundant here and there, but I was not worried about it. I enjoyed it so very much. But I will say, I did not like very much the visual the washed out look of the colorization. I realize this may be because Superman, because he's blue, red, very bright colors, he means to stand out. But even so, I do think it was a little washed out, made a little bit grittier in a very, very superficial sense.
Okay, so the visuals, I agree, they were very impressive, very flashy and, brilliant. The lights would just fill the screen. However, it wasn't terribly colorful, most of that because the washed out look, which, I understand, you're trying a different visual style, but it didn't add anything, so it just came across as washed out. Hey, just take that little setting on the camera, just nudge it over a bit. As for the action, it was good, like it looked good, like it had impact, like people punching and stuff. But my biggest problem was that it did not actually have impact. Like it didn't actually affect the character. Superman's invincible, Zod's invincible. Like Zod gets punched in the face, Superman gets punched in the face, thrown into space. It doesn't actually affect them because they're invincible. It's the biggest problem. It's the biggest hurdle in making a Superman movie. How do you make us care about a guy who's literally invincible? They didn't. I didn't feel like he was in any danger, or Zod at that point. In that case, but his lieutenant was awesome. Her action was easily the best stuff. Next is Superman and Zod combined. Ready, go.
Superman and Zod. I loved this Superman because he was I liked how calm he was, how very like composed and very conscious about his abilities and how fucking badass he kind of is and how he can destroy everybody. And I also enjoyed his performance as Clark Kent. Henry Cavill is great. I like him a lot more than the other Supermans we've had over the years, so I very much enjoyed him. Zod, for me, was way too over the top. Way too crazy. Like, it was okay, like, I could accept it because of certain other elements I liked about the film, but seriously, Michael Shannon needs to tone it down a few notches, if you ask me. But even so, he still provided a pretty good villain. He just could have benefited from just Michael Shannon, like, stop, like, putting everything into it and having a little bit more subtlety.
Superman was a dork, okay? Like, there was just, like, he always had this grin, and he was, like, the perfect Boy Scout, which is another hurdle with Superman. He's perfect. Where's emotional depth in a perfect person? There was none. There was no dramatic, like, weight to his character at all. There were no deep scenes. There were no scenes where I'm like, you know, that's a real person. No, I saw someone playing Superman who's perfect. That's boring. However, I will say, I did like teenager Clark Kent a lot. I think those scenes had a bit of weight to them. They had a little more, you know, like, hey, that's an interesting concept. Clark Kent's being bullied, and he realizes if he fights back, he will kill the bully. So he can't. That's an interesting concept. I wish it was explored more. For Zod, yeah, over the top. I saw that coming from the trailer, but he was just a little too over the top. He wasn't that intimidating. I honestly think his lieutenant was more intimidating, like I mentioned her before, in the action. So they did not hold up the movie well together, and you say, yeah, two gods fighting, but that's kind of boring when they're both invincible. I already touched on that, but neither performance was terribly deep, though Zod had better motives than Superman, in my opinion. Like, they gave him interesting motives, and I'm over time, but I'm gonna just, stop. I didn't like Superman, I thought he was a dork. Alright, next, Lois Lane and minor characters really quick, because there's not too much to say about both. Ready, go.
I really liked Amy Adams' performance as Lois Lane. I just don't think the script gave her enough to work with. I mean, it's like I do think that, you know, if we're talking about Lois Lane, the love story is so underdeveloped it's kind of insulting, well, sort of. And I do think that really what they could have done is just have some kind of connection in this movie, and then when the sequel happens, when the inevitable sequel happens, you just have it that's when they go for the love story. But whatever. The minor characters, again, good solid job. Lawrence Fishburne, it's always great to see him. Again, they just aren't given enough to work with. It's more likely just have a checklist of all the things that you have to have in a Superman movie. The Daily Planet was one of them, and that's just all they were, just like part of the checklist.
Lois Lane started really well. It was like, okay, good. Lois Lane, she's not taking any crap from anyone. She's going to get the story. She's dedicated to her work. She's, independent, a strong character. Great. And Amy Adams was doing a good job. This is where we agree. Amy Adams was good. She just wasn't given enough to work with. Exactly what Max said. I agree. She just fell right into. She wasn't very interesting after the first quarter of the film. She just kind of went along with the plot, doing whatever, and then she turned into the damsel in distress, and then she had a terrible line with Superman, which leads to, their romance is a joke. There is no chemistry between the two. They barely talked beforehand. It's not even like the actor's fault. The characters never interacted before. We shouldn't care. Guess what? I didn't. As for the minor characters, I also didn't care. They were not there. They were on screen for 5 minutes combined the entire film. And then in the climax of the film, is Superman going to save the day? It's their lives that are right at the edge. Will he stop this machine in time to save these 3 people you know nothing about? I didn't care. I don't think you will care. Yeah. Like Max said, only I'm more negative. It was just, oh crap, we need minor characters. Next segment, the writing. 1 minute. Ready? Go.
Personally, I understand why the writing is, it can turn a lot of people off. That's okay with me because, personally, I very much enjoyed the script. I don't know about anybody else, but I got a very campy vibe from it. I got to get very, it has this grand epic fashion, but, it also does feel kind of silly at some points, and that's totally all right with me. Some of the dialogue though was just awful, but for the most part, I would say that everything put together was pretty awesome. I enjoyed the script. I realized why some other people didn't, but I do. And my best example of this campiness would be everything that Jor-El says. Every single thing that Superman's father says in this movie is so campy. It's awesome, and I personally enjoyed it. But I can see why others don't like it.
The writing was bad. Like throughout the entire film, there was not a single line. One line, I'm like, oh. Like in any other, almost every movie I see, there's always this one line, that was well written. That helped advance the story. That helped show character. There was none of that in Man of Steel. And there were tons of lines just just painfully stupid lines, like Zod telling Superman, there's only one way this can end. Either you die or I die. A, that's two ways. B, that's the most stupid, spell it out for your stupid audience line you could possibly get. It's dumb. It's poorly written, and this is the writer of Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, so no surprise there. Okay, we're on the final stretch. We're going to do plot, the big ones. We have 2 minutes to do plot, and this is, how story arcs worked, how it was put together. It's a very general, big picture, how it told its story, how it worked. Let me get out my timer. Max, are you ready? 2 minutes. Ready? Go.
I enjoyed the plot. It was I enjoyed how it was structured, especially with the flashback sequences, how they were able to successfully convey the kind of turmoils that Clark has gone through in the 33 years between Krypton falling and him as just walking around as this wanderer guy. I really enjoyed the plot because it was just fast paced and it never really felt like it was just taking its sweet time. Also, I wasn't really a huge fan of how they tried to connect everything together, having some real reason why Zod needs to go after Superman other than the fact that he's evil. That creates some motive, but at the same time, I don't know if that really works.
Yeah, we don't need motive on our villains.
Other than just, oh hey, he's a bad guy, he needs to have some other reason. And then certain aspects that were thrown in there for good measure, having... I don't want to spoil anything, but the ending of the movie is very interesting. I know a lot of comic book fans will get pissy about it, but at the same time, this new character is new, and what he does may not be exactly as the character that he's portraying would do, but they never established the fact that this is the exact same character as that. It was very fast-paced, very good. I did like the little nods to certain other DC characters in the DC universe because, I know that's not really important, but I still enjoyed it. Again, a very good sense of pacing, a very good, it never slowed down for me. It was one hell of a ride, and I did enjoy it. Personally, what isn't established is, it's not like the film, treats us like a pack of fucking idiots looking at us, we have to establish every single thing because, we can kind of use our own brains, but, fuck that, right? And then, also a lot of the, a lot of the dialogue, because, just going back to writing for a second, it did help in terms of the story. And, again, I enjoyed it, and really, just about the ending, don't worry about it. If you're not a DC fan, you should not be, bitching about how what happens doesn't necessarily fit, because this is not really a movie that has to fit with the characters adapted on.
For me, 3 words come to mind when describing the plot and the overall movie. Contrived, stupid, and incompetent. First, the contrived. So many plot points in this film, so many, were just so, oh, thank goodness that was there. Thank goodness that happened. It was just so contrived in how everything just kind of worked out to get the story further. It was just almost insulting. There were so many moments. It's just, the entire film almost expects its audience to be drooling out the side of the mouth going, okay, no, you gotta do some work and make it not as so painfully contrived. Okay, the stupid thing, okay, that's not quite the right word, but I think nothing was set up. The ending, it's a huge deal, but the thing it talks, the thing it works with, the trait or whatever it works with, never actually brought up in this film. It's never actually established, so it's just weak. Just, the whole stupid thing comes into just these things that are never explained or set up. Explained, especially Zod stuff, how they turned his prison into a ship who's able to destroy planets. They never explain this, and then like his stupid plan about, basically he could have an entire planet of Kryptonians as powerful as Superman, but he decides to instead make Earth as make it like Krypton, which would remove their power, because that would just be way too stupid, right? To have a planet of Supermen. That's a terrible idea. Seriously, that was just dumb. And then incompetent. There are a lot of places where just two things didn't work. First, painful slapstick in moments that did not need it. It just ruined it. It was just terribly done, and it was just like the filmmakers were afraid that they had something going. Like there was something they were working with. So like, throw in a joke, or flashback. On that note, flashbacks and the present had no connection whatsoever. This was potentially an amazing concept. Like, show a flashback, and then cut to, it doesn't have to be right away, but then cut to showing how, like, all of a sudden this new layer is revealed. Like, all of a sudden this plight Superman's in has that much more meaning because you just saw something in his childhood. Nope, there was no connection between the two. Like I said, Superman had no emotional depth. So what he went through in the early scenes, which I enjoyed, like as a teenager and a kid, I enjoyed those scenes pretty well. They didn't actually have any impact on him, so why should I care? He doesn't care, I don't care. Then, the biggest thing that it just didn't get, you brought up, campy and serious do not go together. It's trying to be this great big epic action film, superhero film and action film, and the campiness is just too much. It's incompetent how it's done. You can't expect the two tones to mix like this. You needed a better director or a better writer to make this work, and it just failed abysmally. So overall, I think the plot was contrived, dumb, and incompetent. Okay, final statements.
Man of Steel reminds me that whenever you review something, it's always about your perspective. And in that regard, I personally really, really enjoyed this movie. It's got a lot of things that just don't really work very well, and I believe that they can be improved upon in the sequel. But what's here is very, very good. The direction, and yeah, the writing. Not everybody's gonna like it, but I personally enjoy this a lot, and I can't really say for sure if you will, but personally, if you enjoy really good action and good performances and just a script that does not really go for this really gritty kind of depressing atmosphere, I would suggest Man of Steel, because I'm pretty sure that it fulfilled my expectations.
Man of Steel has no emotional weight or character arcs or good writing. It has nothing that's legitimately engaging film. It's all just action and visuals, and I'm sorry, that just can't hold it up anymore. That's something if you want dumb entertainment, sure, you might enjoy Man of Steel. But for people that actually like the Superman character, people that actually want an interesting, dramatically engaging film, Man of Steel is not it. It's a total misfire. It's a terrible way to start off the Justice League. And I just think that it was poorly done. I would not recommend you go see it.
Did you just say there was no character arc?
There was no character arc.
Fucking idiot.
There were no character arcs. Okay, let's stay on this for 1 second. There is nothing. There is nothing. There's no soul to this film. There is no bottom line that says, hey, care. Why should we care? Superman doesn't care. Lois Lane doesn't care. None of the characters care. I was rooting for the villain sometimes. The director clearly doesn't care. The writer clearly doesn't care. No one cared. This was just, hey, Superman is going to sell. We're going to hype this up as the great big launch to Justice League. And guess what? It worked because you people ate it up. Okay? I'm sorry. If you haven't seen it because you were skeptical, good. But people ate it up. It has an 8.4 on Metacritic. And that is insulting. That is insulting. It is not an 8.4 worthy film. This is just eat it up. Just eat it up. Oh look, Superman being flashy. Superman punching people. Oh, that's just great. Just feed the masses without doing any actual effort. It's a joke.
If he wasn't hanging on Man of Steel, he'd be giving Christopher Nolan a hand job.
Let's talk about Nolan for a second. He's not perfect. He's perfect at directing. His record stands for me. He didn't direct it.
Yeah, he didn't direct it, but he did provide the story, and as a result, I don't think it was really the writer or the director that really should be solely blamed.
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
Really,
No, Max. Max, you got a good point there. This movie is bad because of the director of The Dark Knight, not because the writer of Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance or the director of Sucker Punch. No, it's not them. It's not them. No. No, Dark Knight guy, one of the best modern directors. It's him. Oh, fuck him. No, these two. Oh, they're gold. They made it. Good thinking. And now for the final scores. Man of Steel gets a 3 out of 10.
Man of Steel gets an 8.5 out of 10.
You think your show is safe. It is an illusion.
Why did Max give recommendation nomination to you instead of me?
I am better.
At what?
Everything. Enjoy these final moments of peace, for I have returned to claim my segment. Hello G1s, YouTubers, everyone, and welcome to Recommendation Domination. It's really great to be back, and while I did not like Man of Steel at all, I still have a good batch of recommendations based off it, so let's not waste any time and get right to it. First, if you're looking for another fun, visually stunning, comic booky flick that doesn't suck, I would recommend Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow. Roger Ebert, in his review for the film, stated that, in its heedless energy and joy, it reminded me of how I felt the first time I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I totally agree with this. It's a joy from beginning to end as we follow the journey of Sky Captain, played by Jude Law, and Polly Perkins, played by Gwyneth Paltrow, who travel across the globe to track down a mysterious scientist known as Totenkopf, after his machines attack dozens of major cities across the globe. Not only did Sky Captain introduce me to Jude Law, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Angelina Jolie, but it also really introduced me to the green screen. In fact, the entire film is filmed on a soundstage in front of a green screen, and which is quite the technological achievement. But the best part is that all the environments and special effects, they all hold up pretty well even today. Sky Captain is also one of those movies that's just well put together and complete. While it's not incredibly deep at all, and it's not engaging dramatically, at least dramatically speaking, it never ceases to be fun, exciting, and just a great ride. If you're in the mood for some light entertainment but don't want to sacrifice intelligence for Man of Steel, this is a great pick for you. One of the redeeming qualities of Man of Steel is that it tried, albeit failing in the end, but tried nonetheless, to tell its story in a non-linear way using a lot of flashbacks to child and teenager Clark Kent. Now, when I think of non-linear storytelling, especially flashbacks, the movie that always comes to my mind is one of the greats, The Usual Suspects. One of my favorite movies of all time, The Usual Suspects weaves a complex tale of crime, death, betrayal, and most of all, mystery. Told through the testimony of criminal Verbal Kent, a role that rightfully won Kevin Spacey an Oscar, the events leading up to a disastrous job on a ship unfold, each scene adding a layer to the intriguing puzzle that never becomes perfectly clear, even after one of the best endings in cinematic history. Not only does The Usual Suspect grab you with all the classic criminal talk about dope and hits, but the characters, while initially very unlikable, are just really well realized and interact with each other perfectly. But of course, the best part of The Usual Suspects is one Kaiser Soze, an infamous criminal warlord who is apparently behind the job on the boat. The film builds up this guy, who may actually, just be a spook story, so much that he becomes one of the most intimidating cinema villains, despite the fact that he is barely shown on screen. The tagline for the film was, "Who is Kaiser Soze?" And that about sums it up. You just get so wrapped up in these events, you just have to know who or what is behind all of it. And the film hides this information so well that even the cast were reportedly unaware. I cannot recommend The Usual Suspects enough. It has to be at the top of your list for the next time you want an incredibly intelligent and incredibly engaging crime thriller. Also, the title is from a Casablanca quote. Once again, the DVD and Blu-ray selection for me coming up isn't very good. I mean, I'm definitely not going to recommend Movie 43, even though it's Larry's favorite film. I'm definitely not going to recommend The Host, even though Stephenie Meyer is Max's favorite author. And I'm definitely not going to recommend 42, because I didn't see it. Oh wait, I did see it. I've seen hundreds of them, because it's a sports movie that, what, deals with racism? What, how new? The only movie that's really worth picking up is The Incredible Burt Wonderstone. Now, I'm going to be really brief, because we already did a full episode on it. The Incredible Burt Wonderstone is a delightful, fairly dark comedy that has great performances from Carell and Carey, and strong writing in terms of jokes, despite a very conventional plot. Told you I'd be brief. As for movies coming out in theaters, this one sounds kinda cliche and mainstream, though I hate using that word, but I think I'm gonna recommend The Wolverine. Now, the negatives for this movie, at least for me personally, are pretty obvious. First, the last Wolverine movie didn't do well, obviously, and the X-Men trilogy doesn't hold up compared to today's Marvel lineup. Second, it's kind of another superhero reboot movie, you know, we've seen this quite a bit, and it's even doing that reluctant superhero, that's not who I am anymore.
That's not who I am anymore.
See? But I do see real potential here. The setting being in Japan is unique, and I think it'll be utilized well. We saw a little bit of that in the trailer with the fight on the really fast train. The Wolverine's fighting style is unique among superheroes, so I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. But the main thing that interests me about the Wolverine is how it seems to be purposely going against current trends in the action genre. One of the things that really bugs me about a lot of current action films is the main character being invincible. There's no weight to the action because of that. He's being shot at, who cares? Even if he's hit, he's fine, they're invincible, you know, they can't be touched. That's not engaging or interesting at all. So I've always said it's a really good idea to make your action hero vulnerable. And that's literally what they're doing to Wolverine in this movie. Logan losing his ability to heal is a really exciting concept because it forces the film to add weight to its action. It has no choice but to make every bullet and every sword swing mean potential death. I'm hopeful that this isn't just a plot point, but also an excuse to make impressive, meaningful action. I'll be holding my breath in anticipation until July 26th. Coming in September is Ron Howard's next film, Rush, starring Chris Hemsworth. Now, I'm interested because, well, it's a Ron Howard film. I mean, that's about it. I'm not really into the racing, and the trailer didn't really wow me. So, am I recommending a movie just based on the director? Kinda, but I do have a very personal reason why I'm looking forward to it as well. Thanks to the wonders of Twitter, more specifically Ron Howard's Twitter, I've actually been following almost the entire production of this film, from early storyboards to final cuts. He's posted news about that day's shoot, he's posted photos from the set, all that great stuff, and it's just been really interesting for someone who's going into cinema as a career. So while yes, I am recommending this movie to you based solely on the director, personally I'm looking forward to it because I saw the pieces, now I want to see the final product. Well, that's all the recommending and dominating I've got in me this episode. I hope you enjoyed the segment, enjoy all my picks, and remember, don't see Man of Steel. Wait, I have to do the outro as well? Jeez, do I have to do everything in this place? Well, that's our show for this week. I hope you enjoyed it, despite the fact that it was a bit long and unconventional. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and CinemAttack, and follow us on Twitter, because the episodes are only going to get better as we head into the double digits. So until episode 10, I'm Sean. You people are worse than Man of Steel. Okay, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. That was out of line.